Okay. All right. Okay. We are here. We are here at another installment of 20 mindset and branding habits you want to kill and bury in 2020. I am Victoria Baylor. I am your, of course, teacher for today, your host. If you're in the group and you're seeing this and you're a little bit familiar with who I am as a person, we've interacted. But if you're seeing this outside of the Women Confidently Branded for Profits and Prestige Facebook group, then I would love to say hello to you. I am Victoria Baylor. I'm an intuitive mindset and brand confidence coach, and I work specifically with women and some men on helping them clear mental blocks that prevent them from showcasing their brand brilliance. I'm able to help them identify their brand brilliance, what their purpose is, essentially help them tap into their brand potential so that they can create a very strong brand identity and leverage that for visibility, opportunities, and increase in revenue. So I absolutely love what I do. I always joke and say it feels like all I do every day is polish diamonds, because you are the diamond. You are the important, anyway, you're the important person. There's no mimicking you. You're amazing. So it's important for you to be tapping into all your resources of who you are. So let me see if I can just do something real quick. It looks like, okay, well, it looks like the presentation is just showing, which that's fine. We'll just use the whole screen. I usually like to put my face up there so you know that someone is here, but of course you hear my voice, and you know that I'm speaking, so that's fine. All right, so we'll start with number 11. So we did 1 through 10 in 2 previous recordings. So we're picking up with number 11. And also as a kind of an attachment in my introduction to me, in addition to, of course, helping people get better with identifying their brand brilliance and how they step up professionally to brand themselves and put themselves on display. In addition to that, I run my own brand consulting firm entitled Baylor Brand Consulting, where I actually do all the one-on-one and group coaching, host workshops, do seminars, do personnel trainings. And in addition to that, I do visual branding as well. So I like to consider myself a one-stop shop to help you brand from the inside out. So just wanted to make your acquaintance. If you're new and we have not met, feel free to, of course, leave your information below. I would love to hear about you and visit your sites as well. Okay, so mindset shift number 11. This is important to cover. This one is skipping social media posting won't hurt me. Okay, so there's a reason you want to kill and bury this, because it is hurting your brand, believe it or not, like tremendously. So you want to kill and bury this for several different reasons. The one being that most people don't realize 2.65 billion people actually use social media worldwide. So that is an immense audience. And if you're talking about how do I tap into people that need what I have, well, that is a big swimming pool. So you start thinking of it from that standpoint, that becomes pretty much the lake you kind of want to go fishing in. So you can catch some fish or catch the people that you need that need you, right? So the great thing about leveraging and really tapping into social media, if you really haven't taken advantage of it, is that it really allows you to expand your reach, your visibility, and it gives you greater opportunities because you're able to connect with people on deeper levels. And in addition to that, it's a way, as I mentioned before, for you to find and concentrate your niche. Say, for instance, you do something that's very unique. Where, oh, let me got my phone up. Okay. Say, for instance, you do something that's very unique and then it's kind of hard to, find a ton of people in your neck of the woods, maybe in your backyard, who can connect with that. Well, when you have 2.65 billion people and you learn to start marketing a certain way, you can actually find lots more people that need what you have to offer. Lots more people that you can present your value in front of. And of course, with those right people that need you, they will compensate your value properly. So I want you to shift how you look at social media. Sometimes we tend to think of it as only as like Facebook and Instagram. And we know that a lot of times people are on there really just flossing. It's not, there's a lot of it's entertainment, no judgments there. But for those that want to leverage it for professional purposes, it is a tremendous asset. And the reason is because there's so many outlets, so many different ways in which you can communicate to the right people, your right group. So for instance, if you're probably an over 50-year-old woman, you're not likely probably to use Snapchat for anything. We know that that draws a certain crowd, a certain demographic. So if you start thinking about where are my people, start thinking from that standpoint, and then start looking at the social media outlets that really suit you. You could be opening yourself up to, again, a lot of new financial potential, clients, opportunities, etc. And so many people have been able to leverage it, including myself, to get opportunities to travel and connect with other folks. It bridges the gap between Western world, Eastern world. It's just an amazing way to connect people. For quite some time, actually, most of my clients were people I never met in person. So being able to leverage social media and advertise my business and then get new clients who saw me in Europe or who saw me somewhere else and then sign up, that's the way to bridge the gap. So I definitely want you to leverage that. So here are 3 things I want you to think about. Actually, 2 things, and realizing you need to explore this. For one, the first question always arises is, if you're not using this tool, very, very valuable tool, the question is, why aren't you leveraging it? And that's a really important question. And for a lot of ladies, there's the whole idea of the struggle with, fear and doubt. What do I get up there and say? How do I say what I say? Sometimes dealing and battling through the insecurities of, are they really going to listen to me? Or what do I have of importance? What's my value? So a lot of these questions, they arise out of that, again, not being able to really connect for social media because you're having some personal internal mindset issues and struggles. So the thing is this, are you going to let yourself just stay where you're at with that? What are you willing to do? Or what are you going to do to overcome it? Because again, if you have the potential to really grow your business, to really make right connections, to grow in your career, whatever it is, your professional aspirations, my question is, having these kind of internal issues such as fear, doubt, not knowing how to communicate, maybe you're more introvert, maybe you're more extroverted. So whenever it's something like that's an issue, the question is, what are you going to do to get over it? So then that's a question of personal responsibility. So I'm encouraging you today is to take that personal responsibility, do what's necessary so you can overcome these issues if you're having a hard time reaching out and really getting into social media, because you don't want such an issue to prevent you from really thriving and growing in your career or your business and prevent people from seeing you. So the question is, what are you going to do? And I'll tell you this, I specialize in helping women get through these issues. I've worked with women such as politicians. You can't think of an arena where you need to be more in someone's face, but at the same time, do it in a way that's effective, that really allows you to connect with people, and so you can gain office. So I know what it takes to help women step up. So if you need that kind of help, I'm here. Definitely reach out. Number 2 is, what is your regular strategy? If you're actually using social media and leveraging right, what is your actual strategy to position yourself using social media? Meaning that anytime someone thinks of the problem you solve, you were the first person in their mind. They're like, oh, I got the person, and then I'm spreading that information, and they're sending out referrals, and they're telling others about you. What social media strategy are you using to bring about that effect? And then how are you showcasing your expertise through social media? So these are unique plans and strategies. If you aren't using the strategies, then by all means, or if you don't have a strategy, that's definitely a telltale sign that you're probably not leveraging social media to its best capabilities for you. And when I tell you a little bit, it's kind of funny. My daughter always has this quote from her who was it? Oh, from our art teacher. She has this quote that goes, "A little dab would do you." They used to talk, when you're kids, elementary, you want to use too much paint, too much glue. The interesting thing is that when you take time to really grow, well, first of all, tap into your brand brilliance, excavate what that is for you, or work with a coach such as myself to do that, you're able to essentially concentrate yourself when you market yourself. So believe it or not, a little dab will do you. If you are branded properly, you should be able to put out messages, not in a way that's overwhelming, not you're spending all your time in front of a computer, but if you're strategic, you can leverage you in the right arenas and get the results you want. So that's the thing where I want to correct it. I think I hear a lot of women say, "Oh, I post all the time." Well, what are you posting? Is it relevant to your brand identity? Does it really uphold your brand philosophy? Are people really clear on who you are and what you do and what change you bring about? So that's what you want to start thinking about. Ladies, it is 2020. We definitely want to think strategy, strategy, and strategy some more. It's so important to do that. Okay, so mindset or brand habit you want to kill 2020. Oh, before we do that, this graphic I really love. And this really shows the power of social media. So outside of thinking, oh, I'm just going to post this nice picture and make myself look like a nice person. No, social media allows all kinds of interesting elements to take place because it's a means of communicating. And the question is, what are you communicating and how can you use that communicating to bring about so many other good things? So when you look here, even in these words they use, such, unique opportunities such as collaborations, being able to expand your audience, connect with someone else's audience, leverage them, being able to give information that's very useful and helps people. You can develop a sense of community. There's a whole idea of helping people learn, getting them to strike up conversations about things they probably wouldn't, and empowering folks to be better, do better. So remember, your message, it has to be so clear on who you are. When you're that diamond and your brand brilliance is definitely out there to be showcased and you are polished, you won't have to fight for someone to see your sparkle. They're going to see your shine. And you definitely want to put all that shine on social media so they can see it, so you can really, again, take advantage of the opportunities that are there. Okay, so mindset, habit, brand habit you want to bury. Number 12, kill and bury. It says, I should have figured all of this out by now. So I'm going to stop and take a drink of water on that one because that is a heavy hitter. First, I want to start by asking, do you feel this way? Do you feel like you've wasted your life? Do you feel like, in a sense, that there was something you should have had figured out? You made a mistake, you didn't realize it. Maybe you were undervaluing yourself. Maybe you spent too many years in a job that didn't fulfill you. You spent years trying to fulfill someone else's dreams. Anyway, it doesn't matter where you're at. This little statement here can attack your mindset like none other. And it is in this statement that's definitely laced with condemnation, guilt, regret, and all those other nasty things that you really can't do anything about in this moment. So my job is, and one of the biggest jobs I have as a intuitive mindset coach, is to help relieve this type of pressure. Because ladies, if we're real about with ourselves, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. This is a strong, strong statement. And I want to stay here just for a second because it's important that we kill the limiting beliefs that are attacking us and are keeping us from stepping up. And these limiting beliefs are so crafty that they just will sabotage any good intentions you have, and they keep you stuck. And again, this statement can manifest itself a variety of ways. I've had clients that thought they were too old to do certain things. My time has passed, which was, I think, one of our earlier ones that we talked about, or it might have been from a previous training. But my point is, I don't like this statement. And I'm sure if this has been something you've been dealing with, you don't like the weight of this statement either. So how about we kill this statement, right? So by doing that, let's start out by first. Remember I talk about just releasing the pressure. You can't ever, the interesting thing about creativity, which I think we all have it to some degree, creativity does not work well at gunpoint. It doesn't work well at pressure. It doesn't work well when you're exhausted. It will not show up when you're stressed, but it is one of the greatest assets and tools. And my point is that you want to kind of relieve the vice grip kind of on your head. And I love this picture because this is us as women. If you're just now joining me, you're seeing this, the negative belief was mindset issue that you want to kill and bury for 2020 is, I should have figured all of this out by now. And I wanted you to think about, what is this for you? This for you might have been like, I should have had my career figured out. I should have had my strengths figured out. I should have figured out that I shouldn't have been with that company so long. Whatever this is for you, I definitely encourage you to release the judgment centered around that. Let it go. Like, the song, let it go. Release it. And I want you to actually kind of turn a corner and think from more of a positive direction. Because right now you want to release the pressure, because if you don't, you won't get anywhere. But I want you to start by asking the right questions, because it's the right questions that will actually get you out of mental jams like this. So let's just start with today. These are the questions that will reroute and shift your life. And I'm not going to ask you to answer all of these here and now. If you're watching the recording, this might be a time for you to pause, pull out your journal, and start writing down some of these answers. But I'm going to ask just straightforward questions, and we're going to cut right through. We're going to do a little laser coaching. So the first question is, who are you? Okay? Because despite what you didn't do right and all that other baggage we like to carry, you're a person, and you're a person of great value. And oftentimes that gets lost in the midst of the pressure and in the midst of feeling defeated. Trust me, I know that very well. I've been there. Sometimes I still battle the little mental gremlins. So who are you? Sometimes it takes getting recalibrated and figuring out again, just kind of getting recalibrated. Get the boat kind of goes off course. Let's just get it back on path. Who are you? So are you that person that's, a lover of life, that wants to live a life impacting other people? Don't give me an answer that's centered around what you're technically like career-wise and what you do. But you want to think about, who are you in essence as a person? Whether you're a giver, again, a lover of life, someone that wants to make a big impact on the world, someone that enjoys fun and values family time. You want to start thinking about deeply who you are. And then now you want to kind of shift and think, does where I am, or does where, let me say it right, because we want to use correct grammar or correct enunciation. Ask the question, is where I am, does that really support who I am? So that'll get you to thinking. So instead of really attacking yourself and being like, well, I should have had this figured out, sometimes it's easy not to just, there's a lot of pieces. So question 1, who are you? Question 2 is, where I am, does that support who I am? And then question 3 is, what is it that I really want? And then think about what fulfills you. If you didn't think that through in the who you are part, this is a great place to start discovering that. And that becomes a way of identifying who you are. But if you can process through these 3 things, instead of thinking about what I shouldn't have had figured, what you want to be able to do is get a clear understanding of who you are, where you are at this moment, and just get back on track for where you want to go. It's like having the car on the side of the road and you have the spare tire, but you had a flat, and then all you're doing is being upset because you had a flat. Just get over it. Okay, everybody gets a flat tire. Everybody sometimes ends up somewhere where they've like, I should probably had this together. It's okay. Take off the flat, put on the spare, get back on the road, get back, just recalibrate it to what it is that you want to achieve in life. Who are you? Do you have the means to be able to do what you want to achieve, those natural strengths, abilities, and then just start moving forward. No judgment, no condemnation. Does that sound good? Okay, and then number 13, which brand, let's see, mindset and brand habit you want to kill. It's number 13, which is, I love this one. it has to be 100% perfect before I can launch. And this is specifically true for all of my my perfectionists on the broadcast who actually see this. Um, the answer is, so you have two people. You have, well, maybe you have three, but there's the two extremes are the person that's going to launch regardless. And I love those. Those are a subset of my client. They're not trying to wait till they have everything together. They had the idea, they're going to launch. One or two things are going to happen. Either it's going to be successful or either they jump the gun. But they're willing to do it. They're willing to take a chance. They are willing to risk it something. My other group are the perfectionists. And the perfectionists tend to want to have everything completely, every wrinkle ironed out, everything done perfectly before they launch. Now, the good thing of the plus and negative to that is, the plus is that they usually produce really good work and it usually goes over well. But the downside is oftentimes it takes so long that they miss their window of opportunity, or sometimes they don't even launch at all. So I want to kind of take a combination of both of those archetypes, those personality types, and kind of mesh those together and try that on. Try being definitely the person that wants to come from a place of having things put together, a place of great quality value, because your brand depends on the value you have. And you don't want to sugarcoat, water that down, and create a bad impression of who you are and what you offer. However, on the flip side, you also don't want to be stagnant and not ready to pull the trigger on opportunities because you're struggling through perfectionism. So in order to answer this, I'm going to give you just show you the best answer. And this, for most of you that kind of worked with me before, you know that I always bring this up when I'm talking about just launching imperfectly. This is Twitter's original logo, the one on the left. And needless to say, it is a hot mess. It is not what Twitter really represents today. And to be quite honest, when I look at it, I think of two things. One, I can't remember. It reminds me of that old, it's the Nutty Professor, or whatever that movie was where they had like the green gel. And then it reminds me of someone's talking and too much and they just kind of spit or something because it's wet. I mean, what is that? But look at the bird on the right. That seems to embody Twitter so much better. And you got these little tweets, and then it just kind of gangbusters, just, became super popular. And just to let you know, there are 126 million people that are currently using Twitter. Last year was at 115 million. So it's a machine that's still growing. It's crazy. It was produced in 2006 by Jack Dorsey. And as we all know, it incorporates microblogging and social networking between people. And it's highly successful social media option, and it's effective in helping people connect. So think of it this way. If Twitter had waited to get the bird right, I wonder how many years of growth and scaling it would have missed out on. I'll tell you this, there is no secret to branding, except there really is no secret. I think I've been pretty honest about branding. To do it effectively, at least from my standards and the way I train and teach, you want to definitely understand what your brand brilliance is, and you want to leverage that. And that comes down to the question is, what is your brand brilliance? And if you haven't tapped into that, we need to definitely book a complimentary consultation so we can talk about that. So once you have that together, it's about marketing your brand brilliance. But what I will say is that to think that where you are now in time is going to be technically exactly where you're going to be, word for word, everything is incorrect. You're going to grow, you're going to evolve even as a personal brand. Your brand look is going to change. Everything's going to change. You might change your own personal look. So you want to start with the best now, start with what you got, but launch. Don't wait till everything's 100% perfect, because that type of perfection doesn't exist anyway. What you want to make sure is that you are perfect for the moment that you're in. You're perfect for the audience that needs you. You're the perfect solution for them. And the word perfect, the way in which I'm using it, is in the other sense of is complete. So it's complete in the way in which you're coming across, not that it is flawless. So we don't want to definitely get you caught up in what's flawless. Just launch, okay? And some of you, last but not least, are such high achievers that even if you lower your standard a little bit, you're still going to look great. Give yourself some room to depressurize. I know you want to go for the 105%. That's the grade you want to get. But if you pulled it down to 93 and gave yourself breathing room, I always ask my clients, is it still not an A? Right? So definitely think about it from that standpoint. Okay, and moving on. Let's see. Oh, I guess, well, as far as helpful an action plan with this, I definitely will encourage you to think of what is one thing that you have been holding back on doing because it just didn't seem perfect enough. Maybe it was a Instagram video, Facebook training, something, sending an email to a person, calling someone to ask about the opportunity, but being nervous that if you give them your website is not 100%. You know, as long as you're not misrepresenting yourself or giving things that will create confusion and them understanding you, it does not have to be 100% perfect. Please launch, okay? Trust me on that. Please launch. Okay, number 14, we're moving on to. This is interesting. Let me take another swig of water on this one. While you read this, definitely read it slowly and think through it. And the answer to this, or the approach in dealing with this, is going to look different for every woman. But because I have worked with a lot of women, it's always interesting how we get to see different variations of this, or I get to see different variations. And one thing I want you to understand is that I love women. I love the way just who we are, our unique brilliance, our expertise, our gifts, our hearts, the beauty of our bodies, whether we got thick thighs, thin thighs, doesn't matter. We're all amazing. But this is one statement that will kill your amazingness quicker than anything you can imagine. And this statement is, of course, this is just the way I am, and people need to accept me. And the kind of attitude behind this statement, and I'm going to say attitude, it's a negative one. It's one that can manifest not only in the mindset, but also in branding practices. So something even as simple as, look, I don't have to, dress nice. I mean, these people are going to just deal with me. I know it's, I know it's a business environment and I probably should be business casual, but, forget these people. They need to accept who I am. I have a product, I have a service, it's good. I don't have to conform. And so, so in that case, yeah, true enough, it's free country. But I think with everything, every choice you make, we always want to think about the attitude behind it and what we're saying about ourselves and the way we're coming across. And then sometimes that attitude will translate through whatever that medium is, even in our clothing, even in our tone. We just want to be careful as professional women. We don't want to dull our shine. And oftentimes this statement becomes a blanket to prevent us from having to make changes in necessary areas that are hurting our brand. And I'm just going to put it as simple as that. And I can understand holding the fort. Trust me, I can understand you don't want to be told what to do. No one wants to steal your freedom. Some people do. I don't. But what I'm encouraging you is to be mindful of what everything you say and do actually communicates. So when you do show up and you decide, I don't have to be like everybody else, that non-conformity sometimes can communicate that you don't want to be part of a group or that you don't want to participate. So you just have to be careful about that. Not all the time is it written in stone. It's not life and death, but just think about the way you may come off. And by that, you don't want to, again, I said such a statement can reflect closed-mindedness. So the question comes down to, do you want to grow as a person? Do you want to have a closed mindset versus a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset? So a fixed mindset is, I'm stuck where I'm at. I think my thinking stays the same. I don't have to expand. Whereas a growth mindset says, how do I improve? How can I be better? That's possible. So this kind of boils down to what a segment of personal branding that I love so much, which is emotional intelligence. And your emotional intelligence is a huge part of how you interact with people, how you interact with yourself. And it's just a way, if you have to sum it up, it's a way in which you can, it's a means by which you can show forth empathy to other people. Emotional intelligence, your ability to be able to show forth that kind of empathy, connect with other people, understand and read their emotions, regulate your own, so on and so forth. And I think this is a really great kind of little schematic that just kind of showcases what all the little pieces, parts of emotional intelligence is super important and oftentimes get overlooked. So there are elements such as self-awareness, knowing about how you're coming off, what you're doing, how you're saying what you're saying, just being completely aware of how you communicate nonstop. Simple things like, if you have an issue with your temper, or maybe it's the way you talk to people, or there might be a way in which negatively you roll your eyes or you breathe hard. Just being aware of what it is, again, the messages you're always putting off. Empathy, as I mentioned, your ability to feel and connect with people and understand what they're feeling, that allows you to communicate better, oftentimes bridge the gap from any kind of conflict. Understanding even your motivation, what gets you up, what drives you. Because if you understand that, you'll also understand what doesn't. So if you're working a job that does not motivate you, you're trying to do things that you're unmotivated by. Not that you need motivation to move everything. Some things you just got to suck it up, buttercup, and motivation will never come. You just have to do it. But I'm talking about that wellspring of motivation that's kind of internal inside of you. You definitely want to be aware of that. Think about self-regulation. How do you regulate those parts of yourself, such as your attitude, such as your temper, such as the way you communicate, such as the way you think? Sometimes some women are a little bit more bent toward developing a little bit more drama. So maybe if you have that kind of inclination, or that's your first, kind of reaction when something happens, is get emotional. Well, how do you regulate that better? And then social skills, being able to connect with people socially, having proper social etiquette, habits, all of that gets rolled up in emotional intelligence. And that's a lot that women, we do not think about, because it is hard enough to be in your own internal emotional atmosphere and then try to think about what other people are doing in theirs, and how you're coming across or how you're feeding on them. You don't even have to be the aggressor. It could be also you understanding how that you have maybe a meeker personality type. And when you get around someone that's kind of very strong-willed, strong-minded, they can back you into a corner. How do you learn strategies so that you can find and maintain your voice, still maintain your own integrity and your own brand persona, but still address issues such as bullying or negativity, or someone trying to generate conflict with you? So this is a big thing. So when you think of the statement, this is just the way I am and people need to accept me. Again, this is all about growing. How are you? Who are you? Have people told you things? Have you asked them, what are things about me that you admire? What are areas that I need to work on? And this slide is really focused on the things you need to work on. Are you going to take that into heed? So my 3 pointers for this is, as far as tips to help. First one is, what is causing strain in your professional life at this moment? So for you, what is that? What is an issue for you at the moment? So ladies, we want to, it's great. I'm not here visibly, so don't feel like I'm looking at you. I don't pass judgment. It's not how I'm wired. I love the complexities of people. So with that being said, because I'm a very complex person, with that being said, I want us to take the mask off for a moment. We know you're amazing, you're brilliant, you're wonderful. You don't have to defend yourself. But we do want to take that mask off of just who you are, lay that to the side, and just have a vulnerable moment and think honestly, what is it for you that's causing strain in your professional life? What has it been lately? Maybe it's been a negative social dynamic between you and another coworker, a business partner, someone. Maybe it's been an issue you've had with someone that's that's a subordinate that works underneath you, that maybe you manage, having some conflict issues there. Or maybe you're having an issue where you're trying to be taken serious, but you've made the mistake of being too common, too friendly with people that work underneath you, that now it's destroyed the relationship you have and the authority you're supposed to have as a leader. So what is the issue now for you? Think about that. What has been its effect? What have you lost from that? Whether you've lost respect, whether you've lost sleep, what has that been for you? Question number 2, this is the big one, because remember, you don't have to stay stuck. There's a difference between being a volunteer and a victim. Oftentimes we are volunteering for situations. We are not victims, but we want people to think we're victims. You can correct these areas. So for you, my question is, what are you willing to do to correct it? And remember, this requires taking the mask down. Maybe for you, it's taking an anger management class because your temper gets the best of you. Maybe it's knowing that you have strong self-worth and that you need greater confidence, because every time you get up to speak, your voice shakes and you tremble, or you don't even accept the opportunities in the first place. So maybe you need coaching. And for that, of course, I am here. You know that. I'm here to support. I'm a resource. I do best with the internal struggles, stuff like this, helping pull those issues to the surface. So it's important to think about it. What are you willing to do to correct your issue? And I promise you, more likely than not, you probably can't do it by yourself. Because a lot of these issues tend to be blind spots. We don't see them, or we see the effects of them, but we don't know what is causing it. And it takes somebody with a little bit more expertise, a little bit wiser, to help you pinpoint and figure that out. But do what's necessary, because we don't want you destroyed, your brand brilliance tarnished because of some issues like these. So what's bugging you at the moment? It doesn't have to stay that way. Now, remember, the only person you're really responsible is for you in any case. So if it's someone externally that's creating problems, that's one dynamic. But we're talking about you mainly, your part of things. What are you willing to do? And then last but not least, number 3, how do you keep this trouble area in check? How do you keep it in check? What are your checks and balances? Whether that's having a maintenance routine or a habit, where you're, again, doing coaching, you're doing something, you're reading books, how do you maintain that issue or maintain your knowledge that helps you overcome that issue? And then what about accountability? So you work from home, but you can't help, you feel like you can't help it. You got to watch TV all day. It's hard to stay engaged, busy. Who's your accountability partner? Who are you, who's looking over your shoulder and helping you? And remember, mind, body, spirit. So this could even pour into not just your professional areas, but your your personal issues. You need to feel better in order to be able to do better. Maybe you come to work tired all the time. You need more sleep. Maybe you're taking on tasks that are draining you, and therefore, as a response, you are a little grumpier, or you're despondent, non-connecting with people. Whatever your issue is, you want to get a hold of it. It's your responsibility. So I definitely want to point that, but you don't want to live by that creed, just like it says here. This is just the way I am. People just need to accept me. This is not going to fix it. So the suggestions I gave you will definitely lead you to some solution. And of course, feel free to reach out to me as well. And then last but not least, I did not relabel that. That's 15, forget the typo. But this one's a really neat one. So it says, my associations don't really affect my personal brand. Now, I think there's 2 ways to automatically look at this. And remember, this is number 15. We'll do 16 in the next broadcast. But there's 2 ways to look at this. So this statement is kind of common sense. We all know that if you hang around bad people, or people that have the opposite values, morals, things like that, they're going to tarnish you. So we know that. Our parents have been telling us that. Other adults have been telling us that. I want you to look at this from the positive side. What can positive associations do to really elevate your brand and how people see you? Because if you are snoozing on this, then you are definitely missing out. And you are too brilliant, A, to be snoozing on any great opportunity. And remember, you are the diamond. The brilliance shines. And when people see something shiny, they want to be a part of it. It attracts attention. So remember, this is all about being able to do any of this is really contingent about you really understanding your own brand brilliance. What really makes you as remarkable of a person as you are, when it comes to personal development, your skills, your abilities, your talents, your interests, your values, your all these different things, your experiences, your mission statement, like all of these pieces, they make you you, and they help to create your brand brilliance. How are you able to use your brand brilliance to increase the associations you have, the positive associations that will definitely validate your brand? So when you're usually, so my point here is oftentimes when you're new on the market, or say for instance, you're new in a career and you're trying to elevate, it's really hard to do that by yourself. So it's by connecting yourself strategically and authentically, I might ask you. We don't use people. We don't pretend to be people's friends so we can get things from people. This is why the brand brilliance part is so important, because I can't beat that in enough. I'm not trying to beat it, but my point is when you are authentically showing up as yourself, you will attract the right people. You will attract the right groups, the right supporters, the right connections, the right networks, because you're authentically being you. And see, when you're faking something, you're going to attract a little bit of everything. But when you're authentic, it really helps you to streamline and be consistent in how you brand yourself. And it allows you to continually step up and say yes, because you're not plagued with so much insecurity, because you understand who you are, you understand what your purpose is, you understand your strengths, your abilities, and you recognize and support other people in having theirs. So mind you, when you've gotten to that place where your brand brilliance is developing, meaning it's a process, or it's developed to where it is at the moment, leverage yourself through the connections you can make with other people. And I could say that over and over again, but this picture pretty much spells it out. So I think it was in 2015 that Oprah, and I remember I know people that trade stock market, so they were kind of watching this move. So Oprah decided to buy shares of Weight Watchers, and we all know because of her history with her weight, that she's definitely been in the public eye for that. People understand her struggle, people applaud her, they connect with her because of her realness. But what's interesting is that when you think about association and partnerships, this could have been a better partnership. It was a win-win for both sides. So what was interesting is that Oprah leveraged herself and connected herself with a big name giant such as Weight Watchers, and then Weight Watchers did the same thing with her, because she's a big name giant in her own right. She bought 6.4 million shares of Weight Watchers, which I don't think was doing very well at that time. She bought it for $6.79 a share. So for those of you who know, that's very, very low price. If you trade it, I've traded before, that's a very low stock price. But fast forward, I think it was 43 million when she bought it, all those shares. Fast forward, and I don't know what it is now, neither do I care, but at some point it was $160 million in value. So the value went from 43 million to 160 million. That, my friend, is the power of associations. You don't take anything else away from what I say. I hope this illustrates that, yes, connections matter. And going back to slide number 11, which we started with about being in social media, this is where social media is so important. You can't always call your connections every day. You don't want to email them nonstop. It's incessant. But if you show up, whether through, being on social media on the regular, and they're seeing you be consistent, and they're seeing you constantly share your message, you burn, of course, and you imprint in the minds of those people, so that when you come later and ask, like, hey, I would love to be associated with you. Hey, I want to connect with you. Let's partner. Let's do a workshop together. Let's do some trainings together. Let's, work together and come up with a program. Let's just you know, swap service, whatever it is, associations really do matter. And if you're associated with someone that has definitely the clout and their own positioning to really elevate you and show you as an expert in what you do, whether in your career or your business, you definitely want to take advantage of that. So I hope that illustration makes sense, because it's no better illustration than that. And to give you kind of the last tips on this, I have 3 of them for you as far as an action plan. Before I do that, again, I want to stress the importance of developing your brand brilliance so you can create authentic connections. Because what I will say is this: it's not hard to rise to the top in what you do. So branding is very unique, and branding's a very unique strategy and tool, especially with personal branding. So you can literally, based on what you promote or how you promote yourself, you can create an image of yourself in the eyes of other people. And that's really great. What is that image? Now, it becomes a problem if that image really isn't you and it's disingenuous. It may even be positive, but if it doesn't really speak to who you are as a person, you will keep rising the ranks, getting the opportunities. And believe it or not, more and more on the inside, you're going to start feeling a little bit null and void, because it's like a disconnect between the person you really are and then this image of what people perceive you to be. My job is to make sure that who you are and the image of who you are is one and the same. That way, when people encounter you, there's no putting on a mask, there's no hiding, there's none of that. You can be brilliantly yourself and you can shine authentically. So the point is that when you take time to develop yourself authentically, then you want to take time to make those connections and associations that are really going to help you leverage who you are, connect with the right people that allow you to show your value, and then do or get the success, whatever that looks like for you, that you're out for. Get the professional outcome that you're desiring. So just like with Oprah and Weight Watchers, associations matter. So 3 of my tips for you are: tip number 1, you want to examine your current associations. And this is a big one if you're thinking about really self-evaluating, and you should do this every year. What are your current associations? Are they serving your goals? Are they beneficial? And they should be mutual beneficial. We shouldn't be parasites, unless you're a mentor. Mentors, which the mentoring relationships do go both ways, but oftentimes in mentorships, is one person giving a little bit more because that's their whole goal, is to pour into someone else. But if you are having associations and partnerships, the question is, given the current ones you have, are they really serving the cause? Are they helping you reach your goals? Are they helping your brand identity, the way you're seen? If they are not, you need to think about or rethink about those associations, essentially. And number 2 is, what do you need to do to elevate yourself to make or get you to a position where you can make greater connections? And this is a part where it's, again, not being fake, but this is using all your branding tools. Whether it's something simple as, if you have a struggle with, and I've had clients that have had a struggle with, maybe it's the way in which they come across, maybe it's their body language is a little bit rough, you know, they shake hands rough, maybe it's the way, what they talk about. They don't know how to use kind of like they don't know how to kind of handle being in a professional environment. Maybe it's other little things. Maybe it's dressing. Don't know how to dress in a way that really highlights their personality, showcase their brand. And they end up in environments and they don't feel like their best self is there, and therefore they don't make the connections. They shy away from it. So the question is, what do you need to do to elevate yourself so that you can make strategic connections that benefit you and future associates? And then step number 3 is, start thinking about, who can you connect with? You don't have to be an Oprah to just connect with the Weight Watchers. I definitely want to encourage you to think big. Who is it? What's your dream connection? What's your dream association? What other organizations embody what you're all about? you can oftentimes approach them and say, hey, I have value. I would love, you and I are similar in the messages we're trying to send, and the value we're trying to send. Let's connect, let's partner. And I can tell you this, I've had some amazing partnerships with people, but I didn't get them because I kind of hid out. So this is where it's so important that you cannot usually just go from, hi, my name is, let's partner, and then you're riding out in the sunset together. No, you usually are working with people, connecting with them, building up that know, like, and trust factor, which is super essential to make those connections. So I can't stress that enough. I think I'm gonna leave that there so I don't just beat that message to a pulp, but I think what you're starting to see, if you're seeing a pattern, is that everything with branding is intentional, consistent communication. It's knowing what you're communicating about yourself, understanding your own brand brilliance. And I'm talking about the real stuff. You can get bits and pieces of it. So this is where I talk to people all the time who said, oh, I'm figuring this thing out. I'm just going to watch some videos. I'm going to read. I'm going to watch, your videos, Victoria, or I'm going to read books, and I'm going to kind of piece together what my brand is. And I will say with that, that's a wonderful strategy if you have time like that. Because as long as it takes, for instance, if you had to extract your own teeth instead of going to a dentist, it's a lot more painful if you have to do it. You don't have quite the tools or the expertise, and it can end up being a big mess that causes problems later on. Well, the same thing is if you're trying to brand yourself essentially without kind of getting professional help. You don't know the blocks, you don't know the things that are in your way, and oftentimes it's hard to polish your own diamond because you don't even see your own multifacetedness. So to that, I definitely encourage strongly, get what you need to get to develop your brand brilliance. And for some of you, it will be to contact me. And I'll say that because you've been trying it on your own and it hasn't really worked. So definitely this should be the year of investing in you. And I know me, I am doing whatever. I'm already in like 3 certification training programs. Like I don't even play when it comes to investing in me. That's like a no-brainer. From having mentors, coaches, to reading, like I'm full on. I'm team invest in myself. Because if I know, and this is what I teach my clients, this is what they come to learn, they didn't know it already. When you increase your value internally, what you have, what makes you valuable, you essentially increase the value you get. And I don't know about y'all, but I want big money. Yeah. So I need to increase my value accordingly. And so does everyone else. And I'm sure you're on board with that. But my point was in saying that is that it starts with you branding yourself, and then you work up, and then you get to a level where you can have those kind of associations. And those associations allow you to level up, take bigger steps. Those are the kind of associations that are similar to like going viral on social media. You might have 80 followers today, but then you click on and you have 80,000 tomorrow. Who you connect with can really shape and propel your personal brand in all your professional endeavors. So definitely take that serious and be mindful. And with that being said, this is part 3 of 20 mindset and branding habits that you want to kill and bury in 2020. We've covered 11 through 15. I hope these have been very helpful, and I'm looking forward to the last installment where we're going to wrap this up and cover the last 5.